Welcome back to the channel. We've got some more NAB news to talk about, some more cameras to discuss, some updates, some things that are going on with NAB. We're going to go over it. What you're looking at right now is some of the footage from Freefly Systems. They have some cameras, the Ember cameras. They also have the Wave camera. These are high frame rate, slow motion cameras. And the newest one is the Ember S2.5K. So we're going to take a look at this. And if they have the trailer on here, that would be nice.
When I started a camera team, our vision was to create the world's most innovative camera system. It's easy when you build a product to get lost and distracted by the solutions that already exist, to think that the only path is the one that's in front of you. We threw all the rules out the window and envisioned how simple a camera could be. In the end, we ended up with a 4-inch cube that's changed the way the world captures high-speed video. Today, we complete phase 1 of our vision with the introduction of Ember S2.5K. With this camera, we complete the original vision we had for Ember 3 years ago. The world's smallest, easiest, most fun to use high-speed imaging system.
I love the sound design when you get the sound effects along. Oh, it just makes it so good.
S2.5K pushes the limits even further with a quad-bare Super 35 sensor that can shoot up to 2,900 frames per second at 2K resolution and can capture even higher frame rates at a reduced image height. Our 2.5K sensor has 9 micron pixel size, so it retains the same crop factor as Ember S5K. With the introduction of S2.5K, we also bring a host of new features that will help users expand the capabilities of all Ember bodies. We added a high-endurance PSLC SSD that enables variable pre- and post-trigger arrangements and can record continuously for up to 75,000 terabytes. Just set your pre-capture time and click record, and Ember will grab that shot and add it to the SSD, while maintaining the ability to shoot a new clip immediately. This is insanely useful for shots like hummingbirds, sports, and rocket launches or explosions. We are launching an all-new electronic EF mount with 2.5K that allows for control and reporting of most Canon EF lenses. Control aperture and focus from the camera, app, or API. With the launch of S2.5K, we also bring new firmware and apps that allow all Embers to use just a phone or an iPad for complete control, capture, and share workflow. All you need to get to work with Ember is the latest supported Apple device and the Ember app. This is the most efficient and intuitive professional imaging system we can imagine. The Ember app also stabilizes shots in near real time using the onboard IMU data from Ember to allow incredible stability even while shooting long lens or handheld. Simply input lens data and click Stabilize in the app for a polished shot ready to export. We are releasing a Mac OS version of the Ember app for power users that want to process Ember shots on more powerful systems. It's got all the ease of the mobile app, but with more speed and horsepower. The Ember app allows for complete control, preview, and export of the shots you capture, and we've layered on a new feature called Amplify that allows scientific users to analyze motion and vibration easily in the app. Ember S2.5K is the latest addition to Freefly's camera family. Thanks to all the current Ember customers that believed in our vision to create small, fast, simple, and beautiful cameras.
Quite a nice announcement trailer. Short, sweet, to the point, beautiful, beautiful images, nice sound design, excellent music, like the voiceover. All of it's very nice. And when I saw this, I just thought, these are some lovely images. 2.5K. So, you know, when resolution isn't of the utmost priority, but it's all about those frame rates, this could be your ticket. Now, I will spoil it a little bit. This is not a cheap camera. This is not something you're just going to go grab at Best Buy. Oh no. This is going to cost you a little bit. But for the application, for the type of customer, probably makes sense. Kind of fits in that, the whole kind of phantom realm, which seems to have become less popular lately. I don't know, for whatever reason, if 10 years ago, super high frame rate, ultra slow motion was just the coolest thing any of us had ever seen. And so we all loved it. And you know, now like 4K 60, I'll still do plenty of footage, you know, slow motion, but not this slow. And I just wonder how much, if there's more of that type of work now, less. I'd be curious if you have any thoughts on it. But here you can take a look at the differences between the two Ember variants between Freefly. They've got the 2.5K, which is the new one, but they have a 5K one, which is the older one. And so it's a higher resolution sensor, slower frames per second. So 600 frames versus, over 2,000. And apparently they're saying that both are Super 35. So there's no crop factor difference. It's just, this is what the camera is, Super 35, but you just get a reduced resolution because you can see the pixel size is larger on the 2.5K. So it seems like it's the same surface area for that sensor. Super 35, no crop, but less resolution, much higher frame rate. So pretty cool. Lots of, I like the look of it. I think it's interesting looking. I don't expect cameras from Freefly. I know they've had a few of these. The Wave, the Ember. Let's rip the Band-Aid off, shall we? 25,000. Not bad. There's probably much more expensive cameras, that compete in this area when you're trying to do this type of ultra slow motion stuff. But thought it was cool. Thought it was interesting. At least worth looking at that beautiful trailer and kind of, I don't know, seeing if maybe one day, I'm trying to imagine, definitely something I would rent. I'm not doing slow motion stuff like this all the time, but if it was for a certain client project, I could definitely see myself renting it, trying it out for a particular reason if I wanted that ultra slow motion. What else are we gonna, oh, it didn't share the tab when I opened it. 25,000. That's the price point. 25,000, which is steep, but not as steep as maybe it could be. I don't even know what the Phantoms go for these days, but probably a rental either way, regardless. We're also going to be talking about the Ninja Phone from Atomos and kind of this thing. We'll check that out. We're going to watch this video that I started watching. This is about Blackmagic Pyxis 6K. From Philip Peck. I haven't seen his channel recommended before, but it popped up in my feed, and it's a rant, and I love a good rant. As much as I love giving them, I love listening to them too, so we're going to check that out. And we're also going to check out this absurd Frankenstein of a camera, this OFG Customs 65 camera, a conversion of a Fujifilm GFX 100 to more of a cinema body style. So we're going to go through those things. And we'll kind of just be hanging out, chatting a little bit. If you want to leave a comment, go ahead, drop it in the live chat. Happy to look at it on the fly. If you want to join the live stream, you want to get on camera, you want to talk, plug in a microphone, that sort of thing, just send me a direct message on Instagram, and I can shoot you a link. You can hop on. If you missed the live stream, you can still send me a message. We can set something up for another time, because I love these conversations, talking about cameras and technology and equipment and what we do and how we do it and all that good stuff. So those are the options. That's what we're going to do. Hop in the live chat, send me a message, and we'll make this happen. Let's check out the Ninja Phone, because I'm kind of curious about this one. As it's buffering. Well, maybe I'll have to go over to YouTube, because that's not working. Let's do a little refresh. This looks like some kind of Vimeo player. Ooh, giving Nikon some love. All right, Atomos. I like the locking. That's clever. Stream from it, that's helpful. Got ProRes, which camera to cloud, okay. Oh, we got frame integration, all right. Very Apple aesthetics with this little trailer. Now your iPhone can be a Ninja too. Very fun, Atomos, okay. I'm not gonna start that again. What you got for us?
Hi, Jeremy Young, CEO and co-founder of Atomos. We've been working hard since I came back at the beginning of the year and I've got some amazing products to announce to you. First of all, I just want to highlight some of my friends that are in the room. First of all, the amazing Japanese camera makers. Thank you for your support over the years, and it's great to team up again and deliver some amazing products
Sony,
to the
Canon,
video industry.
Apple,
So Canon,
Fuji,
Nikon, Sony,
Nikon,
Panasonic,
Nikon,
especially, and then our new friends at Nikon who just purchased Red are now in our camp a little bit more. So big call out to the camera makers. Second call out is to Apple and Apple ProRes. The team up that we've been doing for many years has
interesting.
pushed
Apple ProRes, because Blackmagic
forward, and you'll see
Design,
there's a couple of devices
another Australian
next to
company,
me
seems like they're
that
moving
haven't
away
been
from
in
the
our family
ProRes.
before. And what I can tell you
Atomos
is that
says they
this
love the ProRes.
is now a Ninja. So phones can be Ninjas too. The iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max
I don't have. I have
can
an
now
iPhone 13.
run Ninja software and display 1600 nit HDR OLED, amazing P3 tone and color that you just won't believe how good it is. And how do you do that? Well, I'm here to announce the Ninja Phone.
Ninja
The
Phone.
Ninja
You
Phone is a
HDMI
co-processor for the iPhone.
Converts
it
it to
takes
USB-C.
HDMI in,
Yep.
converts it into ProRes,
Oh,
10-bit,
okay.
and sends it out over USB-C.
Okay.
It has a microphone input, so that you can put all your USB-C mics
Focus,
to the
focus.
shot and make sure that they're locked, video and audio, before they hit the phone screen. And you've also got power in from battery, and you've got an AC power supply as well. So the video comes into the iPhone through the USB-C connector. And at the same time, we've made a really professional locking system that allows you not only to lock the Ninja Phone to the iPhone, which I'll show you, but also the cables are all professionally locked cables, so you don't have any cables disconnecting at any time.
I'm surprised
So the
we
first
haven't
thing
seen
you're gonna
more
need
of that. For as
is
much
a
as people
case.
complain about HDMI
This case
and
is
locking.
available for the 15 Pro
yeah,
and
just
Pro
put a
Max,
lock
two
on
different
it.
sizes. You'll notice it has a cover over your camera lenses on the phone, because we're not using the phone camera. We're using professional, high quality sensors and big lens cameras. And then you take
Careful,
the
don't
Ninja,
tell that to Apple. Their shot on iPhone
and you click it in.
Hollywood marketing will be
So
ruined.
now your phone is a Ninja. So it's an amazing revolution that we believe will
I'm sure this
give
is
social
helpful.
media guys the
Yeah,
ability to
streaming.
step up from their phone,
Streaming
get a
and
really
beaming.
nice camera, and then they take the HDMI out, and their phone is now a Ninja. So we display the ProRes on the screen at the same time as recording the ProRes to the phone internally.
Taking
and at
up
the same
all my
time,
phone
we can then
space.
send it out to social media in 10-bit HDR. 1600 nit amazingness to all other devices. So this is truly the next stage of the Ninja revolution. It's $399 and available in June. We're going to be at NAB on Sunday this week, and you can come and check it out. You can check it out on our booth. It's at some of our partner booths, and you can play around with the Ninja Phone on your iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. The last thing I want to talk about is the combination of the Ninja Phone into the 5G and Wi-Fi on the phone. Just sending that out at really high quality is something that you really haven't been able to do from these professional cameras. Now you can. You can bring it in for social media, you can bring it in for pro video, and you can bring it in for cinema. So those three, the entertainment market is obviously booming.
I think a little bit
There's
of
lots of video being done
downside to this.
for
We're gonna
events
get
and
to it.
weddings and music videos in the pro video space, and the social media crowd are getting better and better and better at their productions, and this tool can definitely add to the amazing workflow in the market. And the last thing I want to say is we've been watching and working with Fuji, who have this amazing X100 Mark VI camera.
Ooh, giving
And
Fuji some
the
love.
Ninja Phone is the perfect companion for that camera. I know there's lots of people out there waiting for their camera, and when you get a Ninja Phone, you can really unlock the video capabilities of this revolutionary little guy. So that's all from me. Ninja Phone, $399, available June. Check out Atomos.com for all the details, and we really hope to see you at NAB.
Let's check out Atomos for all the details. So very good, I think, for streaming and beaming. And what I mean by that is sending files to the cloud for remote viewing. Maybe it's a client, maybe it's an editor, whoever it might be, when you're just like, here's what's happening. Because I don't think this is 4K. I think it caps out at 1080. But they're not going to say that anywhere up front, I don't think. We're talking about 10-bit ProRes. Okay, yeah, but 4K, 1080. It doesn't say. Dual record, okay, but where's the resolution? Let's see let's see. Okay, yes, we've got the Apple resolution. So this is the downside of a device like this. I've always kind of preferred the integrated and native screen displays. So it's something I really miss from the days of shooting on the DJI Phantom 4 Pro, or I think that's what it was, with the built-in screen. Because anytime I have to use my phone, half the time the battery is like half charged. I can't use the phone then for anything else if I'm flying the drone or whatever. It's now dedicated to this one function. So in this case, I'm not texting, I'm not, sending an email, because I'm monitoring my shoot with my phone. Now, granted, I guess you could buy a phone just for these purposes, but a phone is an iPhone 15 or a Pro Max. Like, these are $1,000 devices. Are you going to buy that to have a monitor that, yeah, it's bright, but not all the time? That's the other downside with the iPhone. It'll get like in that overheating mode where it dims and there's no control. You can't max it out anymore, and it never comes back, and it's slowly, like, sometimes my phone will get really, really dim for whatever reason. It's getting too hot or something, and that can be quite frustrating. So I would hate to have that on a shoot. I do like the locking cables, and we've got super light, super silent, but then you've got this, you got to have an extra battery, which is, I mean, I guess is the case with any kind of monitor, so I guess I can't fault it for that. But here we go. Video input format, 1080, no 4K on here. Video codec, okay. Video output, yes, ProRes. So if you're using this, you're not going to be using these files, I don't think, for anything beyond maybe social media. Because if you're using it for the files, for the recording, the 10-bit ProRes files, hey, you've got these on your phone. Well, they're only 1080. Maybe they'll add 4K in the future. I don't know. Doesn't seem like it. So it's really about the streaming and beaming. Send it for remote viewing somewhere else. Integrates with the 5G. And I think that would be helpful for certain setups, just wireless viewing. So cool for some things, but it's not going to replace, if you're using a Ninja to record ProRes files, I don't think this is the solution. Because not only is it not 4K, it's also now on your phone. And I don't know, but for whatever reason, getting files on and off of an iPhone is the most tedious, annoying thing. You can do it, you can AirDrop, but you can only do so many files at a time. You can plug in SSDs and do all these things. But anytime I plug into a phone to copy files, it needs to index. It needs to spend 5 minutes just preparing the file system. They don't work like hard drives. It's not like you plug your iPhone in and there's just the footage waiting for you. At least I've never found that solution. If it exists, let me know. But for the most part, anytime there's files on my phone, getting them off is the hardest part. So we have that to deal with. Someone's asking, is it live or is it a rediffusion? Or is it red diffusion from NAB? This is live. This is live. Absolutely, it's live. I don't know what this is asking. Yeah, it's live. We're live. So let's check out this Philip R. Peck. This video on the Blackmagic Pyxis 6K. This is not it.
It's going to be a bit of a rant video. It's kind of what I do nowadays about the Blackmagic Pyxis 6K. Now, I'm going to talk a lot of shit about this camera, but my beef isn't necessarily with the camera. It has more to do with like the hype train, the insane craziness that you'll see on YouTube. People telling you that this is somehow revolutionary, game-changing, sell all your cameras, whatever.
I didn't say that.
YouTube is getting a little out of control.
Let's be clear. I have not said any of these things.
With people making videos about cameras on YouTube. But there's a difference between an informational video about a new product or about an old product, whatever, telling you what it does, what it doesn't do, what it's good for, etc. And I'm sure that a lot of these videos that have insane clickbaity thumbnails and titles, when you actually get into the content of the video, that's probably what they are. The hype is getting crazy because this is literally not a new camera. There is nothing new about this camera. It doesn't do anything that is innovative or technologically superior to anything that has been on the market for a while.
Correct.
The only thing new about this camera is the form factor. Same camera as was released last year, the 6K full frame. I believe it's got the same sensor, or a variation of the same sensor that's been in use since about 2018. And I'll get into the reasons for that. Feel free to disagree. get angry, whatever you need to do with yourself. If
not
this
angry.
camera fits into your workflow and if it suits your needs and is something that could really help you,
All
then
the disclaimers
by
you
all
have to
means buy
give
it.
to all the
I have no
people who
problem
want to
with
get
Blackmagic
mad.
design, but if you are looking to buy a new camera or you're somehow find yourself feeling like you need to get this camera because of the breathless hype, then don't. Don't fall into that trap. And there's a bunch of other alternatives out there that might be better suited to you. And also, we'll just kind of talk about, like, Blackmagic has sort of a long history of really dumb design decisions, and this camera is definitely no different. So let's start there.
hot take.
Let's start off with, like, why this camera is kind of stupid. And the number one thing is probably the obvious reason, is that it has this massive fixed LCD monitor to the side. It's fixed.
Okay, so we're starting with the LCD on the side. That's not my biggest gripe. Maybe it's the most obvious, and that's why we're starting there. So let's see.
To the side of the camera. Never seen anything like that. I know there's been plenty of cameras that have LCD displays on the side of the camera. It's sort of like a cinema camera thing. It's for like the camera assistant to be able to change settings. They're touting this in the marketing material.
Yeah, normally on like a cinema camera like this, you're putting a screen on the side. It's more of like an information LCD panel. It's not a screen with like a full giant display fixed like that. It'd be more like a, I don't know, an info panel.
Material that it would be perfect for a follow focus operator to be able to look at the screen from the side. Okay, fine, sure, whatever. So let me back up a little bit. This is the same camera, right, as the 6K full frame. People, I think,
I don't know who you are, Philip, but I like your style. I also like this background you've got here. Where are we? I'm in Arizona. I'm getting some Arizona vibes, maybe California. I'm not quite sure, but I'm fascinated by this skyline here.
have rightfully gotten a little bit disenchanted with the design of the pocket cameras as they've gotten bigger, as they've iterated and added more features and gotten bigger sensors, whatever. The form factor has it's always been a little bit ridiculous, and it only got more so as they got bigger and bigger. They finally dropped the Pocket from the last camera, but it's still the same as the Pocket 6K Pro, same design. I understand the reasoning that people were clamoring for a box-style camera, because that design stopped really making sense. A lot of people are going to counter that they're gonna put an external monitor onto this camera. That's sort of the reason you have a box camera is to build it out to suit your needs. Why put a 4-inch 1080p HDR capable 1500 nit brightness monitor on the side of the camera? Like the Komodo, for instance, has a full color LCD on the top of it, but it's not big. I don't think the resolution is I don't think it's very sharp. But it's basically like, you can use it mostly for the menu, but if you did need to monitor your shot with it, you could use it, but you wouldn't want to. The only time that the operator of the camera could use this LCD is if it's on sticks and you pretty much have a fixed shot, maybe at an event or something like that. You're not moving the camera around.
Now, I will say, to play devil's advocate, because I agree with everything you're saying, Philip. I think this is great. I'm glad you're out there sharing this news, because there's a lot of videos hyping this camera of like, it's a box. We finally got the box. There's just hundreds, thousands of comments. We got the box. Now, to join that club for just a moment, play devil's advocate, because I agree with you, Philip. There are certain situations where you want a camera in like the corner of a room, and when all the screens are facing back, like backwards, which tends to be the kind of natural orientation for screens, for whatever reason, they end up facing the back of the camera, like you're behind it always. And sometimes it's just awkward to try and get behind the camera. Like that's the example I'd use for the Ursa Mini, for example. It's got the flip out screen. It can tilt up, it can tilt down, but it can't really tilt to the side or even flip around. That's now been fixed on the Ursa Cine 12K. But in this, I can imagine a situation where I'm like, hey, I'm glad this screen is on the side because the camera is stuck in a corner. Now, granted, that's not all that common, and that's not a reason to buy or design a camera this way. But I'll say there might be like 1 or 2 times where I'd be happy to have a screen on the side.
Around too much, or maybe you're moving it slightly. Otherwise, it's totally useless for the operator of the camera. Number 2, it's essentially an L-mount camera like the 6K full frame, and that's fine. But they are also offering it in EF and PL mounts. I understand if you don't anticipate ever wanting to use L-mount lenses with this camera, it makes sense to buy an EF or PL version. However, since it is designed around the L-mount, mirrorless mount, there's no room, I would imagine there's no room for internal NDs. But
Aha, like the language you're speaking, Philip. I'm big fan of internal NDs. And we got to get them. We got to push for more NDs built right in. We got aperture, we got ISO, we got shutter. Shutter angle, that's what we need. Shutter angle, not shutter speed. Shutter angle. Give us that exposure diamond. Complete the diamond.
on the pocket cameras, the Pro version anyway, that was designed around the EF mount, there's room for an ND system, the built-in NDs. If you buy the EF or the PL version of this camera, there's room for NDs, get it in Atom. I don't know why they wouldn't have like a Pro version that's more money that has internal NDs. I'm sure they'll.
So there's something, I don't know if it's maybe it's my lack of understanding, maybe it's just what gets said and hyped, but the idea that there's not room for ND filters in cameras that have IBIS or that are mirrorless, which I don't think is true, because I'm pretty sure you can find examples of cameras that exist that have both. So there are mirrorless mounts, E-mounts, Sony cameras that have built-in NDs. And I believe, even does the Burano has IBIS. Does it have built-in NDs? It does, because they result in IR pollution. I know this because I watched Gerald's video. So there's an E-mount camera, mirrorless, that's got room for IBIS and for electronic NDs. I assume they're electronic on the Burano. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're actually filters and they drop in somehow. But that exists. There's room. So L-mount, there should be room. I think there should be room on all these cameras for those things. Now, maybe I am ignorant and I don't understand the specific limitations of the L-mount versus the E-mount, but I would hope that when Leica and Panasonic and Sigma and whoever else was all on this L-mount train, at least someone was in the room saying, whoa, what if we want to put ND filters in there? I hope someone had that thought. And I would imagine that the L-mount and the E-mount and the RF and the Z-mount, that they're all capable of having room for ND filters. If they're not, that would be a huge oversight. But I know it's possible with the E-mount. So Sony's got it covered. Just look at Sony, what they're doing, and then just copy that.
Sure, there'll be one in the future. So it doesn't make any sense to buy this camera in either EF or PL without internal NDs. If it
Agreed.
were me and I wanted to use EF or PL lenses, I would just buy the L-mount version and get a PL or EF adapter, because you could probably find one of those that has an ND system built into it these days. So that's
Yeah, good point, Philip. That's the way to go. Get the L-mount version, get your adapter to your EF, but now you're spending money on these adapters that hopefully, yes, have some kind of drop-in or electronic ND. I don't want variable ND. Okay, we're not talking about two polarizers and getting some gross dark splotches in our skies. We don't want two polarizers. Stop using variable NDs. That's not what we want. But if you can find an electronic EF to L mount, I'd have to look this up. I've never even entertained the idea. I've never had the need to go from EF to L. But it's something I'm gonna maybe experiment with a little bit.
So that's design decision number 2. Not a huge one, but more just for your general information. Number 3, the sensor. Now, I am not an expert and I don't have any definitive information, but my guess is that this is a variation of the sensor that was introduced back in 2018 with the Sony a7 III that's been used in a lot of different cameras in the intervening years, the Nikon Z6, Z6 II, Nikon ZF, Panasonic S1, S1H, S5, S5 II, S5 IIX, Pocket, full frame, and now the Pyxis 6K.
Now, So Philip, I don't think those are all the same sensor. I don't think they possibly could be. You said the A7S III, but from my understanding, that's only like 12 megapixels, but a lot of those other cameras are much higher resolution than 12 megapixels. So I don't know if I'm misunderstanding or if we're just we're grouping all these under like the same sensor technology. Because I do agree, it seems like Blackmagic is using the same sensor from the Pocket Cinema camera 6K in this new Pyxis 6K, because if it was a new sensor, I think they would say that. It would be obvious in the marketing, like, hey, that's a great checkbox. Brand new, redesigned sensor, more of this, dual, triple gain, ISO, whatever. So I think it's the same sensor as in the Pocket Cinema 6K. just redesigned into a box. But I don't think that's necessarily the same sensor that's in all those other cameras, because I'd have to look at the specs. But I mean, I know for sure, like the S5 II, it's 25 megapixels. The A7S III is 12 megapixels. There's got to be some differences between a few of those cameras.
Why do I think it's that sensor? Resolution around 24 megapixels is the same across all of those cameras.
Not the A7S III though, from my understanding. Unless maybe it's an A7 III, and maybe that's what he meant. Maybe a different Sony camera.
Has the same
Maybe I misheard.
sort of high-speed limitations as all of those cameras. So typically they can only shoot in like the full readout of the sensor up to around 36 frames per second in the case of this one, but no real high frame rate options. If you want to go to 60, you're going to get a Super 35 crop. Another similarity across all of these cameras is to go to 120 frames per second, you have to go to 1080p. So there's no 4K higher than 60 frames per second in any camera that uses what I believe to be a version of this same sensor. And they all have a very slow readout. That will be manifested obviously in the high frame rates that we've already talked about, but also in rolling shutter. So if you have fast moving objects going across the frame,
Gotta get the jello.
they're gonna bend.
No one likes that. No one likes the skew.
Fast, you're gonna have warpy, bendy, jello-y lines. All of these cameras suffer from these flaws, which is why I think they're all using a variation of that same sensor. That's why, coming back to my original point.
So maybe I did mishear, because an A7S III I don't think is in that category, but maybe there's a different Sony camera that is in that category. And at least for the most part, yes, I think all those, it's fair to say that they're all in that same grouping.
This isn't a new camera. It is a new design. It's got a new body, but in terms of its technology, in terms of its features, it's not offering anything new. It gets back to why I think the hype is just insane. Why would you hype up a camera that's coming out in 2024 as if it's some sort of game-changing revolutionary camera when it's essentially using a sensor from 6 years ago? If you don't think it's using that same sensor, then feel free to hit me up in the comments, but also tell me why you think it's different. And if it is a new sensor, why isn't it offering anything new? Image quality wise, I'm sure it's fine. This is a good sensor. It's got a good dynamic range, good detail, 6K, et cetera, et cetera. Most of the advances in sensors in the last 6 years have been more to do with like their readout, like how fast they can be, or maybe in just like the overall resolution, more resolution and or faster readout. In terms of image quality, it's not really been much improvement in the last 6 years. So don't worry about that. I just want you to understand that you're really not getting anything new in terms of technology with this camera. The advantages obviously are
if you want a box.
B-raw. And for a lot of people, that is pretty much all they need to know. Other people are going to appreciate that it is a locked sensor, so there's no IBIS. That might be advantageous for certain scenarios where you don't want that sensor moving around. The other advantage is that it has a built-in optical low-pass filter. And most of the other cameras that are using the sensor don't have an OLPF.
True.
And the advantage of that is it will typically reduce artifacts like moire that you might get shooting certain types of patterns. The disadvantage of the OLPF is that it's going to reduce sharpness. That could be seen as an advantage. A lot of people like a softer image when they're talking about cinematic footage, whatever. Just know that
I think the S1H has an OLPF.
Most of the other hybrid style cameras that use this sensor don't have one. The S1H does. So that is another option.
I swear I didn't watch this video before.
OLPF and you like the sensor, then you could always opt for the S1H or the box version of that camera. I can't remember what that's called, the B1H.
Yeah, BS1H. Like I talked about this. Okay, same page, Philip. Same page.
Style S1H, you'll find it. Another thing to be aware of, since this is shooting B-raw, you're typically not getting oversampled images. If you want a 4K readout of this sensor in this camera, that's going to be a crop into the sensor, not 6K oversampled. If you do want to oversample, essentially what you have to do is shoot the full 6048 by 4032, 3x2 open gate, and then crop and reframe and oversample that in post. That's going to give you a great result, but you can get oversampled 4K from the hybrid cameras, the S5s, the S1s, the Nikons, et cetera, et cetera. It is nice that Blackmagic Design finally came up with a battery, or chose a battery solution that was sufficient, or that is sufficient to power this camera for a reasonable time frame. So that's a definite plus. If this camera makes sense for you, if you like Blackmagic, if you like the workflow, B-raw, you want it all built in, great, then this camera is going to be fine. For a lot of people though, I think it makes this just as much sense to go with one of the hybrid cameras like the new Panasonics, older Panasonics, or the Nikons.
Man, Philip, we're
especially
just
if
same page, same page.
If the raw workflow is important, you can get a raw workflow on all of those cameras, whether that's ProRes RAW with an Atomos recorder or Blackmagic RAW with the video assists, which did get a price reduction alongside the announcement or the launch of this camera. A lot of people you'll see on YouTube, they'll like, oh, I love the image, I love the look of the Blackmagic pocket cameras.
I really should try the video assist B-RAW.
A lot of that,
or some of the new cameras.
probably
I like
comes from
B-RAW. I
12-bit
think it's great
internal,
in terms
from
of flexibility.
B-RAW, and
Very
also
comfortable with it from the Ursa
lack
Mini.
of processing of the image. So there's no noise reduction being applied in camera. Lens corrections are bypassed, etc. If those things are important to you, the 12-bit RAW and the lack of processing, you can get that with the majority of these hybrid cameras with either ProRes or Blackmagic RAW over HDMI. You might not get all the flexibility and aspect ratios like open gate, depending on the camera, so you definitely have to do some research and really kind of decide which cameras are going to suit your needs, but the options are out there. And this is also not a Blackmagic hate fest. I like Blackmagic design. I
Me
like
too.
DaVinci Resolve. I've owned Blackmagic cameras. I have the original Pocket. I used to have an Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K. I've been around this space since about 2015, 2016. Back then, these cameras, I think, offered a lot more value and were a lot more exciting because the hybrid cameras at the time were so much more limited in their internal recording. They only did 8-bit 420. That was a huge difference between 8-bit and 12-bit Cinema DNG, 12-bit RAW, B-RAW, whatever the case was. Nowadays, basically every camera since 2020 can shoot 10-bit 422 internally. Well, I know there's still a difference between 10-bit and 12-bit, but the difference isn't that significant, I think.
Yeah, it's not as big as the difference between 8-bit and 10-bit, that's for sure. For
a majority of work that's going online especially, you can do a ton with a 10-bit 422 image, even if it's H.265, H.264, long GOP. Those highly compressed files still give you a ton of color information, a ton of latitude to push and pull that footage, to correct it if you messed up your white balance, if you messed up your exposure. Yeah, it's not raw. I'm not trying to say it is, but it's still super flexible.
Yes, Philip, all right, you've earned the subscription. I gave you a like. Let me go check out Philip. All right, we got Sony A7 in the thumbnail here, in the banner. What's your welcome? I'm Philip. And YouTube, video production, cameras, post-production from perspectives, working freelancer guy and content creator. Sometimes cats make an appearance. Shallow feels. Okay. I'm curious where you're based out of, Philip. I might have to do some more research later. Check out more of your content because I haven't seen your videos before, but I really like that one. And tend to agree with all your takes. I have no, just further reinforcement. I guess it's more validation for my own opinions, but it's nice to not feel like a crazy person saying, like, if you want a box, they've existed. And also, this, like, there's better alternatives, and there's reasons not even, the box isn't even what you want. The box is not the holy grail. If you want that, it's already existed. You could have had it, but also why not take advantage of the things like IBIS, like autofocus, etc. We've talked about it a lot before. Now let's take a look at this OFG Customs 65, because I think this is just kind of wild and kind of cool that there's companies out there doing this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's another neat thing.
You always wanted a Fujifilm GFX cinema camera? Well, old fast glass did it for us. Look at this.
You're watching Cine EI, supported by B&H and CVP.
So,
hi, I'm Johnny from Cine EI, and I'm here with Mark from...
Old Fast Glass.
Old Fast
Very
Glass.
good, thank you.
Mark, you just announced a new beast. It's actually a new camera, but it's not a new camera.
Correct.
So please tell me what this is all about. This is amazing.
Thank you. So the Fujifilm GFX 100 came out recently, and as soon as it came out...
Mark LaFleur. This guy seems very familiar to me. I don't recognize him. I don't know him. but he reminds me of someone. I'm going to try and nail this down.
We knew we wanted to build a proper, what we're sort of referring to as a studio build of the camera, because DSLRs and mirrorless cameras have been out for a long time now, and the images they create are incredible, but everyone knows they can be very difficult to build out. Rods, cables, adapters, it can be frustrating. And what we wanted to do was create something that our clients, cinematographers and camera assistants would immediately see as familiar. Places to mount their accessories.
Wait a minute. Did I just see that the body of the Fujifilm in there? Because that's not... Hold on. Where's that angle? This shot.
Immediately see as familiar.
Nope. Got to go back a little bit. Look at that. Like, there's the card door, right? Am I crazy?
Clients.
That's like the body of the Fujifilm GFX 100 right there. So what's all the extra stuff behind it? And what's the rehousing? You just put a camera in a cage and then there's a big box behind it? I mean, they must have ripped this thing apart and done something to it, but I'm just wondering, does the card door, it needs to be there for recording? Is that what you're doing? It just looks like the camera body's in there. You could do that. Maybe there's some more secret science that I'm unaware of.
Cinematographers and camera assistants would immediately see. Cinematographers and camera.
Okay. See, I see. Okay. There's the hand grip. There's the shutter. It's all right there, tucked behind all the cheese plates they've wrapped around this thing, but it's in there. Look, there's the power on switch on the right side there. The little shutter wheel, the 3 buttons up top. That's just the GFX 100 right there. So what?
Immediately see.
What's everything else? But it's hidden. You can't see it proper.
As familiar. Places to mount their accessories. Plenty of.
That's just the screen for the GFX 100. It's just the camera's right there. There's the Q button right there. I see it. So we just put a bunch of cheese plates around it? What are you doing over there at OFG Customs? Old Fast Glass, Mark LaFleur.
Power options and honestly.
Power options, HDMI 1, HDMI 2. So they've got some expansion. So it's taking HDMI, it's taking that feed and then splitting it perhaps.
One box that just pulls out of the camera, put on a lens, put on a battery, and you can go.
Can I call it a cinema camera?
Absolutely. And honestly, the sensor in the GFX 102 is beautiful. It's larger than full frame. It's a medium format sensor, and
it's not medium. It's
I'm
like
not sure we would
bigger than
make
35
mil,
but it's
for
not
another
format.
camera. But when we saw the specs on that camera, and we love Fujifilm color science, we knew this is the camera we wanted to do this to.
So actually, what did you do here? Because I can see the camera, the camera body is still here.
Yes.
So
Okay,
you
now we
actually,
get to the
the whole
good part.
brain, let's call it,
Yes.
codecs, everything, you never touched that aspect.
The brain is there, the brain is intact. We did have to completely remove and reposition the LCD screen on the back. What we like is they did a
Okay, they
touchscreen
have torn it
LCD
apart.
screen,
That makes me feel
and you
better
can
that
get a
they've
lot
done
of
something.
access
They
to
didn't just put it
controls
in a
right
cheese
there,
plate.
right on the operator side. So also on the operator side, we wanted to be able to add as much functionality over there as we possibly could.
So how the screen is actually communicating with the camera?
The screen is still, the LCD screen still has its original cables that are connecting it to the camera, but we physically tore it off. So we didn't have to change that. We didn't have to change the way it communicates with the camera. We just repositioned it. But it is a permanent modification.
What are the challenges in building such a
So
camera?
they ripped the LCD, they took the LCD, stuffed it
Obviously,
to the
there's
side.
a lot of measurements. There's a lot
left the
to
rest.
get everything exactly precise and get the weight as low as possible, but also make it very sturdy and very functional. And there's a lot going on the electronic side. This has remote run stop. That was a big thing for us. All of our clients expect to have run stop, and you can trigger this from any fizz system, which is really nice. So like just getting through some of the electronics challenges.
So that's the thing you can check out if you're into it. Camera conversions, taking a GFX 100 Mark II and making it into a cinema camera. I think it kind of, well, there's always going to be a type of person that wants this type of camera. I'm not going to convince those people. However, just because it looks like this doesn't mean that it is better. It's the same sensors, the same recording capabilities. Yeah, there's some mounting options, but ultimately you just made something that was small and handheld, and now you made it on your shoulder, dual operator, heavier, more cumbersome, like all those things, which for me is the opposite of what I want. I want things to be smaller, lighter weight, more nimble, more efficient, quicker workflows. I don't get that from the cinema style cameras, but you know, to each their own, I suppose. There's always a time and a place, and you can do what you like, I suppose.
To make sure all the power distribution works correctly and everything's getting the proper voltage. There was a lot that went into that.
I saw the video. I love what I see here. Where can I buy this? Or maybe not.
For now, we are a rental house. Old Fast Glass is a rental house. OFG Customs is our sister company, and that's where we design and build these types of projects. Most of them start out as a rental-only item, but we always explore sales as a possibility. And
very cool. You can rent it. You can buy it later if you want. Now, let's go back and check out Philip Peck here. So we've got the website. Shallow Fields. Okay. So we got a blog. Ooh. I'm actually curious to watch this.
Is Cine EI pointless? Maybe. Let's see if we can figure it out. The point of Cine EI is to maintain the maximum dynamic range and quality of your image. The assumption is that A, you lose dynamic range if you deviate from the base ISO, and or B, you lose quality in the form of grain, fixed pattern noise, whatever you want to call it. I've already made a really in-depth video about Cine EI, what, why, and how, so if you don't really know what it is, I'd highly recommend you go watch that video. In a nutshell, all Cine EI really is a way to expose your camera and to monitor that exposure. It doesn't change the quality of the recording. It doesn't put it into some sort of secret mode that other cameras don't have. It really is just a method of exposing and monitoring your exposure. When you are in Cine EI mode, you only have your base ISOs to choose from. So most of these cameras have essentially two base ISOs. So for the FX30, you have a low base of 800 and a high base of 2500. And when you are in Cine EI...
See, this is great. This is the type of video I need because I'm learning. I've never shot with Cine EI on the Sony cameras because, quite frankly, it just seems pointless. So I'm curious to see if this video has the same conclusions. But it's always good to learn, you know, new things, even if they're not quite, you know, and I don't need it. But maybe good information for the future, or just helps me process and think about other things.
No matter what the exposure is looking like, no matter what the EI value is reading, you're still in that base ISO. But is there really a difference in using Cine EI and shifting your EI value above and below the base ISO, or just shifting your ISO? And that's what we're going to find out in this video. I want to give credit to a couple commenters on my Cine EI video for prompting me to explore this topic, and also some YouTube creators who have directly informed me in making this video. So I'm going to put all that in the end of the video, so stick around.
All right, I'm going to come back to that. That's interesting there. Philip, let's see. I wish I knew where you were based. It's probably somewhere. But I created this site to accompany my YouTube channel to add additional content. Sometimes it's nice to read rather than watch videos. Yeah, sometimes. It's good to have a blog. Uh-oh, that's broken. That's unfortunate. Shallowfields.com. All right.
Don't need that. Is Cine EI pointless?
Comparison images.
Maybe.
No advantage
Let's see
base
if we can
ISO.
figure
Conclusion.
it out. And we played around
Let's skip to the good part.
a little bit with the exposure in post. I think it's safe to conclude that there's really no benefit in terms of image quality, dynamic range, grain, etc., in using Cine EI versus just using an equivalent ISO. So what the hell is Cine EI even for then? And I'm not trying to present myself as an expert. I'm just trying to present this information that I've actually done the work on, done the testing, and present it to you. So if there's something that I've missed, something that I'm not taking into account, please let us know in the comments. I can see one benefit of shooting in Cine EI. Say you maybe overcompensated with your EI value. So in this shot right here, maybe I shot in Cine EI 200. I adjust the image in post, and maybe it's just a little bit too dark and it's not exactly what I want. Well, of course, the actual image that was captured is a lot brighter than the image that I was monitoring. So I don't have to pull it all the way down. But where I think Sony may be trying to fool us a little bit is you don't have that base dynamic range of ISO 800. You've exposed the camera, you've exposed the sensor as if you were shooting in ISO 200 or ISO 400. So if you've clipped the highlights, which you probably have in this instance, you've clipped the highlights. You don't have the same sort of neutral exposure that you would get if you monitored and exposed for ISO 800. It doesn't really work that way. I hope that was helpful. I hope you learned something. Any comments, you know where to go, as always.
It seems, Cine EI seems extra complicated and confusing for some reason. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who understand it and they know exactly how to use it to its fullest potential. But it reminds me of a similar thing where when you're shooting RAW on the red cameras or on Blackmagic with B-RAW, a lot of times you want to shoot at a higher ISO because you can pull it down later. And I don't know if Cine EI is equivalent or if it's the same kind of concept, but it reminds me in terms of the way that Philip's talking here about that same thing where your dynamic range being optimized at a higher ISO is kind of that sweet spot. And if you expose there, you can bring stuff down and it gives you more of that, the padding, the safety net where like, yeah, if you clip, if you're shooting ISO, I don't even know if the Ursa Mini, I think it goes down to 400 is the lowest. You have less range. Maybe it goes down to 200. Oh gosh, it's been a minute. So yeah, I don't know if I'd ever even find the reason to work with Cine EI if it's not RAW. I don't even understand how I'd have to watch more of these videos and really wrap my head around it. But right now, I'm not gonna do that because it's not what I'm going to do. We're talking about NAB. Is there anything else from NAB that we could check out? Probably not. I think that's about it. I think that we're all kind of wrapped up. I think that's a good amount to cover. Feels like a lot of this stuff, the Ember, the Ninja Phone, it's like all these products and devices that have such niche users, which I appreciate. I'm glad that they products like that exist. But then I'm wondering what is the next thing that's going to have that mass appeal that just catches on like wildfire and just everyone loves and cherishes and says, yes, this is the gold standard. Not, oh, we rehoused it and now it's in a box. Or now you can use your phone to stream and you can do these different things. Where's the next thing that's really like, yep, this checks all the boxes and adds and pushes things forward and we get something new finally? You know, I guess that sort of was phase detect for Lumix, but that was them catching up to everyone else. Still waiting. Let's push things forward. Let's get some new stuff.